This presentation is about the history of the DREAM Act, presented by Deborah and Elizabeth. The DREAM Act has a long, complicated history in the United States. The DREAM Act, which stands for Development, Relief, and Education for Alien Minors Act, would benefit children of illegal immigrants, as it would allow them to live the American dream of getting a higher education and eventually qualify for legal status in the United States. The most recent DREAM Act, Senate Bill 952, was introduced on May 11, 2011 in the Senate by Senator Dick Durbin. Durbin, the Democratic senator of Illinois, was also backed by 32 other senators and by 3 representatives in the House of Representatives, but Durbin did not begin his fight just 2 years ago. Durbin originally wanted to place the DREAM Act as an amendment to the 2008 Department of Defense authorization bill. There were many misunderstandings about how in-state tuition would be handled in accordance with illegal immigrants, and some important details had been left out, such as an age cap. As a result, Durbin decided to table the amendment and instead rewrote it to remove all references to in-state tuition, and an age cap of 30 was added as well. On October 18, 2007, Durbin and 2 Republican senators introduced the DREAM Act, as Senate Bill 2205. In order to debate the bill, they needed 60 yes votes, but they did not get the votes needed. Opponents of the bill argued that the DREAM Act would encourage more illegals to immigrate and that there were more important matters to discuss at the time. Durbin was told that if he wanted more Republican support, he would need to rewrite the bill once more. Durbin went to work to rewrite the bill and reintroduced it again in January 2008. He had made the changes he was told were necessary to gain Republican support he needed for the bill, such as illegal immigrant students could hold a temporary student visa rather than conditional permanent residency. 52 of the 60 votes needed were a yes, but that was not enough. Again, Durbin reintroduced the DREAM Act in March of 2009 with 8 other senators. This version stated that immigrants would be able to qualify if they were between the ages of 12 and 35 by the time the law was enacted. They had been in the United States before they were 16, they had lived here for 5 consecutive years, they had graduated from high school or had a GED, and they had good moral character. Students would be able to apply for student loans and for work study, but not for Pell Grants. They could also lose their temporary residency and be deported if they did not meet the educational or military service requirement for the 6-year time period, or if they committed any crimes other than a misdemeanor. Durbin continued to push the bill in September, November, and December of 2010. Each time the bill came close to, but failed to get the 60 votes needed. In May of 2011, when it was last reintroduced, Republicans who had supported it before withheld their votes, stating they could not back the bill unless immigration enforcement was increased. In June of 2012, Obama made an announcement that illegal aliens who matched the criteria for the proposed DREAM Act would no longer be deported under the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program. A couple months later, in August of 2012, Republican Arizona Governor Jan Brewer gave an order that prevented her state from giving driver's licenses and benefits such as health insurance, child care, and unemployment to those who benefited from this program.
Deferred action for childhood arrival allows those who entered the country illegally as minors, who are younger than age 31, who have lived in the U.S. for at least 5 consecutive years, and who pose no threat to national security or public safety, among other rules, to remain without fear of deportation. While this process does not provide lawful status or a pathway to permanent residence or citizenship, individuals whose cases are deferred will not be removed from the United States for the following 2-year period. Many young undocumented students hoping for the passing of the federal DREAM Act have now realized, after many failed attempts in the Senate, this is a far-fetched dream. Now, individual states are either wanting to repeal the in-state tuition laws or pass preventative legislation. Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina, and South Carolina all have laws that prohibit undocumented students from attending any institution of higher education. Currently, 16 states have provisions that allow in-state tuition rates for undocumented students. These states are California, Colorado, Connecticut, Illinois, Kansas, Maryland, Minnesota, Nebraska, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Texas, Utah, and Washington. Oklahoma and Rhode Island allow in-state tuition rates to undocumented students through Board of Regents decisions. Only 3 states allow undocumented students to receive state financial aid: California, New Mexico, and Texas. These issues surrounding the DREAM Act at the federal level are all based on immigration reform, and the impact has challenged many young undocumented students and their futures. Currently, there are approximately 1.8 million undocumented immigrant students, and as many as 1.7 million of the 4.4 million unauthorized immigrants aged 30 and younger may qualify for the deferral program, and 85% of the former are of a Hispanic background. From the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, over 400,000 immigrants were removed in the year 2012, and many different news outlets are calling this deferral the biggest immigration policy change in years. The impact on these students is very intense because they are incapable of careers or military service in the United States, which to them is home, not the country which they originally immigrated from and have little to no memory of. In April 2011, 22 Democratic senators collectively wrote President Obama, in which they said, "We strongly believe that the DREAM Act students should not be removed from the United States because they have great potential to contribute to our country, and children should not be punished for their parents' mistakes." The petitioners then quote Obama, saying, "As you said in your 2011 State of the Union address, let's stop expelling talented, responsible young people who could be staffing our research labs or starting a new business, or who could be further enriching this nation." While the DREAM Act has never gone into place, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program resulted. It still does not provide these undocumented students the American dream that they had always wished for.